something deeply satisfying about watching a 30-year-old Japanese sedan smoke a Porsche at a stoplight. The driver doesn't even look over. No revving, no drama, just gone. That's the beauty of a sleeper. It doesn't need to announce itself. These are the cars that Japan built to fly under the radar while packing enough power to embarrass six-figure supercars. No body kits, no loud exhausts, just raw engineering wrapped in sheet metal that says, "I'm here for groceries." These are the top 11 Japanese sleepers that prove you don't need to look fast to be fast. Number 11. Nissan Cefiro. You're looking at what appears to be a Japanese taxi-spec sedan from 1988. 4 doors, conservative lines, the kind of car a salaryman would drive to the office without a second thought. This is the Nissan Cefiro, and on paper, it's forgettable. But here's what Nissan didn't advertise. This thing shares its DNA with the R32 Skyline GT-R. Same platform, same engineering philosophy, just wrapped in a suit instead of a tracksuit. The Cefiro came with Nissan's RB20 engine, a 2-liter inline-6 with a turbocharger pushing out around 215 horsepower in factory trim. Not earth-shattering, but in a lightweight sedan that nobody expects to move, it's enough to surprise. 0 to 60 in about 6.5 seconds. Respectable for the late 80s, especially when it's coming from a car that looks like it should be picking up fares at Narita Airport. But the real story isn't the factory spec, it's what this car became in the hands of people who understood what they had. The RB20 responded to modifications the same way its bigger RB26 brother did. Boost it, tune it, and suddenly your boring sedan is running with sports cars that cost 3 times as much. And because it shared so much with the Skyline, parts were everywhere. You could build a 400 horsepower Cefiro and still drive it to work every day without anyone noticing. Nissan built the Cefiro on the same chassis as the R32 Skyline, gave it multi-link rear suspension that could actually handle power, and wrapped it all in bodywork that screamed middle management. It was marketed as a luxury sedan for young executives. Leather seats, climate control, all the comfort features you'd expect, but underneath it had the bones of something far more serious. In Japan's domestic tuning scene, the Cefiro became a cult favorite among drifters and drag racers who appreciated a platform that could take abuse while flying completely under the radar. Number 10. Honda Accord Euro R. If you saw this parked outside an office building, you'd walk right past it. It's a Honda Accord, 4 doors, sensible proportions, the kind of car that insurance companies love and enthusiasts ignore. But this isn't just any Accord, this is the Euro R, and Honda built it for people who wanted Type R performance without the Type R attention. Under the hood sits the K20A engine, a 2-liter naturally aspirated inline-4 that redlines at 8,000 RPM and produces 220 horsepower. No turbo, no supercharger, just high compression engineering and VTEC doing what it does best. 0 to 60 in around 6.2 seconds, which doesn't sound like much until you remember this is a family sedan from 2003 that can keep pace with sports cars costing twice as much. But the numbers don't tell the whole story. The Euro R came with a Torsen limited slip differential, Brembo brakes, and suspension tuning borrowed directly from the Integra Type R. Honda didn't just drop a hot engine in a boring shell. They built a proper driver's car and disguised it as transportation. The steering was direct, the chassis was balanced, and the gearbox was the same close ratio 6-speed manual that made the Civic Type R legendary. This was Honda's sleeper masterpiece. It looked like something a middle manager would lease, but it drove like something a track day addict would buy. No wing, no vents, no aggressive body kit, just clean lines and a red Honda badge. And when VTEC kicked in at 5,800 RPM, it didn't announce itself with pops and bangs. It just pulled, smooth and relentless, all the way to redline. The Accord Euro R never made it to North America, which means most people don't even know it exists, and that's exactly what makes it dangerous. Number 9. Mitsubishi Galant VR4. In 1987, Mitsubishi had a problem. They wanted to go rallying, but the rules required they build a road-going version of whatever they planned to race. So they took their mid-size Galant sedan, the kind of car accountants drove, and turned it into a homologation special that would become the blueprint for every Lancer evolution that followed. This is the Mitsubishi Galant VR4, and it doesn't look like much. Conservative sedan lines, 4 doors, nothing aggressive about the styling, but Mitsubishi packed it with technology that was a absurd for a production car in the late 80s. A 2-liter turbocharged inline-4 making around 200 horsepower, full-time all-wheel drive and 4-wheel steering, 0 to 60 in about 6.5 seconds, which was legitimate sports car territory back then, but the VR4 wasn't built for straight-line bragging rights. It was built to dominate rally stages, and it did. Mitsubishi took this thing racing and won multiple times. While everyone else was watching, Mitsubishi proved you could build a family sedan that could embarrass purpose-built race cars on dirt and tarmac. The all-wheel drive system was sophisticated for its time. It could split torque front to rear dynamically, giving the car grip that shouldn't have been possible from a platform designed to haul briefcases. The 4-wheel steering made it agile in ways that terrified competitors who couldn't figure out how a sedan was rotating through corners like something half its size. And here's the thing, this car laid the groundwork for everything Mitsubishi would do later. The Lancer Evolution? That's the Galant VR4's direct descendant. Same philosophy, same engineering approach, just refined over generations. The VR4 was the prototype, the proof of concept wrapped in sheet metal that said nothing to see here. Most people have never heard of it. They know the Evo, they know the rally heritage, but they don't know where it started. It started here, with a sedan that looked like it belonged in a corporate parking lot, but performed like it belonged on a rally stage. Number 8. Mazda 6 MPS, aka Mazda Speed 6. The mid-2000s were an interesting time for performance sedans. Everyone was watching Subaru and Mitsubishi battle it out with their rally-bred monsters. BMW was charging premium prices for the M3. And then Mazda showed up with this, a midsize family sedan that nobody asked for and even fewer people noticed. This is the Mazda 6 MPS, called the Mazda Speed 6 in North America, and it's one of the most underrated sleepers Japan ever built. Under the hood sits a 2.3-liter turbocharged inline-4, producing 274 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. That power goes through a 6-speed manual to an all-wheel drive system borrowed from the Ford Focus RS development program. 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. That's quicker than a contemporary BMW 330i, and it came from a car that looked like it should be parked outside a Home Depot on a Saturday morning. But the MPS wasn't just about straight-line speed. Mazda gave it a limited slip differential, sport-tuned suspension, and steering that was actually communicative. This was a proper driver's car hiding under bodywork that screamed rental fleet. No massive hood scoop, no giant rear wing, just subtle side skirts and a small lip spoiler. You could park this next to a base model Mazda 6, and most people wouldn't spot the difference until you walked away from them at a stoplight. Here's what makes it brilliant. Mazda built this thing to compete with the WRX and Evo, priced it lower than both, and gave it actual rear legroom and a trunk you could use. It was practical, it was fast, and it was completely invisible. No one cross-shopped it because no one knew it existed. Mazda barely marketed it, dealers didn't understand it, and it died after just 3 years of production. That short production run makes it rare now, but back then it just made it forgettable, which is exactly what a sleeper should be. It should slip through unnoticed, do the work, and leave before anyone realizes what just happened. The Mazda Speed 6 did that perfectly. Number 7. Subaru Legacy GTB Twin Turbo. Subaru has a reputation problem. When people think Subaru performance, they think WRX, they think STI, they think hood scoops and rally blue paint. But while everyone was watching the Impreza get all the attention, Subaru was building something far more sinister in the shadows. This is the Legacy GTB, specifically the twin turbo variant, and it's the car Subaru built for people who wanted STI performance without looking like they just left a vape shop parking lot. The 4th generation Legacy GTB came with Subaru's EJ20 flat-4 engine fitted with twin sequential turbochargers. The system was brilliant, a small turbo for low-end response, then a larger turbo kicked in at higher RPMs for top-end power. Total output, around 280 horsepower, limited by Japan's gentleman's agreement. Real-world power, closer to 300. All of it sent through Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system that had been embarrassing more expensive cars for decades. 0 to 60 in about 5.5 seconds, in a wagon, or a sedan, depending on which body style you preferred. Either way, you were piloting something that could keep pace with a Porsche Boxster while carrying a family of 5 and their luggage. The twin-turbo setup meant there was no lag, no waiting, just smooth, relentless acceleration that didn't announce itself with pops and crackles. It just pulled. Subaru gave the GTB the full treatment. Bilstein suspension, Brembo brakes, a 6-speed manual transmission that could handle the torque, and a limited slip differential. This wasn't a parts bin special, this was a properly engineered performance car that happened to have 4 doors and enough cargo space for a Costco run. The interior was subdued, cloth seats, minimal branding, nothing that screamed performance. You sat down, turned the key, and it felt like a normal Subaru until you touched the throttle. The Legacy GTB represents something important in Japanese car culture. It's the anti-hero. The WRX and STI were out there winning championships and getting poster deals. The Legacy was doing the same work in complete anonymity, preferred by people who understood that real performance doesn't need validation. Number 6. Toyota Crown Athlete V. Japan has a word, Kanmurikaizoku, Crown Pirates. It refers to a specific subset of street racers who took Toyota's executive sedan and turned it into something the boardroom never intended. This is the Toyota Crown Athlete V, and it's hiding one of the most legendary engines ever built under a hood designed for corporate respectability. The Crown has been Toyota's flagship sedan since 1955. It's what company presidents drive. It's what gets chauffeured to important meetings. It's leather, wood trim, and quiet dignity. But in the late 90s and early 2000s, Toyota offered a version called the Athlete V, and they dropped in the 2JZ GTE, the same twin turbocharged inline 6 that made the Supra a legend. 280 horsepower from the factory, rear-wheel drive, and wrapped in a body that looked like it should be discussing quarterly earnings, not quarter-mile times. 0 to 60 in around 5.6 seconds. That's super performance in a car that weighs 200 kilograms more and has 4 doors. But the numbers aren't the point. The point is what's possible. The 2JZ is one of the most tunable engines ever mass-produced. Stock internals can handle 500 horsepower without breaking a sweat. Build the bottom end and you're looking at 4-figure power in a sedan that looks like it belongs in a hotel valet line. Toyota knew what they were doing. They gave the Athlete V upgraded brakes, sports suspension, and a limited slip differential. This wasn't just an engine swap, it was a complete package designed to perform while maintaining the Crown's luxury credentials. Heated seats, climate control, premium sound system. You could be doing 150 miles per hour and your passenger wouldn't spill their coffee. The Crown Pirates understood this. They saw the potential in a platform that nobody was watching. While cops were pulling over modified Silvias and Skylines, the Crown slipped past unnoticed. It became the weapon of choice for highway runners who needed speed and stealth. No loud exhaust, no flashy wheels, just a sedan that could walk away from supercars and then park at a 5-star restaurant without raising an eyebrow. Number 5. Nissan Stagea 260 RS. Picture this. You need to pick up your kids from school, swing by the grocery store, and maybe haul some furniture from IKEA. Then, on the way home, you spot a Porsche 911 at a red light and decide to ruin someone's day. This is the Nissan Stagea 260 RS, and it's what happens when Nissan takes the heart of a Skyline GT-R and transplants it into a station wagon. Under that sensible wagon body sits the RB26, the same 2.6-liter twin turbocharged inline 6 that made the R34 GT-R a legend. 280 horsepower from the factory, but that's just what Nissan claimed to stay within Japan's gentleman's agreement. Real output was closer to 330, all of it channeled through the Atessa ETS all-wheel drive system, the same sophisticated setup that made Godzilla untouchable on racetracks around the world. 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds, in a wagon with a roof rack. The Stagea 260 RS wasn't a parts bin project. Nissan gave it the full GT-R treatment. Brembo brakes, sport suspension, a rear-mounted limited slip differential, and a body stiffened to handle the power. They built around 2,500 of them, each one a proper performance wagon that could embarrass dedicated sports cars and then haul a week's worth of groceries without complaint. The interior was pure late 90s Nissan. Nothing fancy, nothing that screamed performance. Just straightforward gauges, supportive seats, and acres of cargo space behind the rear seats. You could fold those seats down and fit a full-size refrigerator back there, or racing slick. clicks. The Stagea didn't judge, it just worked. What makes the 260 RS truly brilliant is what it represented: function without compromise. Nissan could have built another two-door GT-R variant. They could have made something flashy for the showroom floor. Instead, they built a wagon for people who needed practicality but refused to give up performance. It was the answer to a question most manufacturers were afraid to ask: what if a family car could be genuinely fast? The tuning community understood immediately. The RB26 responds to modifications the same way it does in the GT-R. Bigger turbos, fuel system upgrades, ECU tuning, and you're looking at 500, 600, 700 horsepower in a wagon. There are Stageas running around Japan with 4-figure power, dropping their kids at school on Monday and running 9-second quarter miles on Sunday. Number 4. Toyota Aristo V300 Vertex Edition. There's a certain type of person who doesn't need to advertise what they have. They show up quietly, handle business, and leave before anyone realizes what happened. The Toyota Aristo V300 Vertex Edition was built for those people. This is the Supra's older brother who went to law school, got successful, and never forgot how to move when it mattered. The Aristo started life as Toyota's executive sedan, sold as the Lexus GS in other markets. Luxury first, performance second, but the V300 Vertex Edition flipped that script. Under the hood sat the same two JZ GTE twin turbocharged inline 6 from the Supra, 280 horsepower claimed, closer to 320 in reality, but unlike the Supra, this power went to the rear wheels through a 4-speed automatic transmission. No manual option, no sport mode selector, just smooth, effortless acceleration wrapped in leather and wood grain, 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. That's proper sports car pace delivered with the urgency of a golf swing. The Aristo didn't rush, it didn't need to. You pressed the throttle and it just went, turbos spooling up with barely a whisper, delivering power so smoothly you'd check the speedometer and realize you were doing 120 without meaning to. This was a car built for the expressway, for covering distance without drama. Toyota equipped the V300 Vertex with a factory body kit, aggressive for its time, but subtle by modern standards. Lower side skirts, a modest rear spoiler, nothing that screamed for attention. The wheels were 17-inch alloys that looked expensive but understated. Inside, it was full luxury spec, climate-controlled seats, premium audio, enough legroom in the back to conduct meetings. This was a car for people who could afford a Supra but chose sophistication instead. The Vertex Edition went further. Toyota added a limited slip differential, upgraded the suspension, and fitted larger brakes. They knew what they'd created, a luxury sedan with the mechanical foundation to embarrass dedicated performance cars. And because it was rear-wheel drive with the 2JZ, it became a favorite in Japan's drift scene, business executives by day, sideways heroes by night. Number 3. Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution Wagon. Mitsubishi never officially built this car. There's no press release, no marketing campaign, no dealer brochures. But it exists, and it might be the most practical performance vehicle ever created. This is the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution Wagon, and it's what happens when rally engineering meets real-world responsibility. Here's the story. Mitsubishi built the Lancer wagon for regular people who needed space. 5 doors, cargo area, sensible transportation, but a small number of these wagons received a transplant that changed everything. The full Evo drivetrain, the 4G63 turbocharged inline-4 making anywhere from 280 to 310 horsepower depending on the generation. The sophisticated all-wheel drive system with active center and rear differentials. The 5-speed manual transmission built to withstand rally abuse. Everything that made the Evo a giant killer, now in a body that could haul camping gear. 0 to 60 in around 5 seconds, in a wagon. The performance was identical to the sedan because the mechanicals were identical. Same engine, same transmission, same suspension geometry. Mitsubishi didn't compromise. They just added a roof and cargo space. The result was something that could run with Porsche 911s on a back road and then carry a full drum kit to a gig without breaking a sweat. These wagons are extraordinarily rare. Mitsubishi never mass-produced them. Most were converted by dealers or specialty shops in Japan using genuine Evo components. Some were built for racing teams who needed support vehicles that could keep pace with the cars they were servicing. Others were built for customers who understood what they were getting. The ultimate Q car, a vehicle so unassuming it bordered on invisibility. The Evo wagon represents something pure about the sleeper concept. It wasn't built to make a statement or win awards. It was built because someone understood understood that performance and practicality don't have to be mutually exclusive. You could have both if you were willing to fly under the radar. And for the people who found these cars, who understood what they were looking at, it was perfection wrapped in the most boring package imaginable. Number 2, Nissan Bluebird SSS-R. Most people have never heard of this car, and that's exactly how Nissan wanted it. While the Skyline was out collecting trophies and poster deals, Nissan was building something quieter, cheaper, and in some ways, more interesting. This is the Nissan Bluebird SSS-R, and it's the car that proved you didn't need a legendary nameplate to be genuinely fast. The Bluebird SSS-R came with Nissan's SR20 engine, a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4 producing 220 horsepower, the same engine that powered the S14 and S15 Silvia. But where the Silvia attracted attention with its coupe styling and drift reputation, the Bluebird was a 4-door sedan that looked like it was designed by a committee of accountants. Conservative lines, modest wheels, nothing that suggested what was under the hood. 0 to 60 in around 6.2 seconds. Not explosive, but respectable, especially in a car that weighed less than 1,200 kilograms. The SSS-R came with a limited slip differential, sport suspension, and upgraded brakes. Nissan gave it everything it needed to perform, then wrapped it in bodywork that screamed rental car. You could park this next to a base model Bluebird, and most people wouldn't notice the difference. What made the SSS-R special was its approach to performance. This wasn't a homologation special or a limited edition flagship, it was just a well-engineered sedan that happened to be quick. No marketing campaign, no celebrity endorsements, no racing pedigree to justify the price. Just a good car that did the work without asking for credit. The SR20 responded to modifications the same way it did in every platform Nissan dropped it into. Bigger turbo, better exhaust, ECU tune, and you were looking at 300 horsepower without touching the internals. The Bluebird became a favorite among tuners who wanted something different, who were tired of seeing the same Silvias and Skylines at every meet. It was the anti-hero of the Japanese performance scene, overlooked and underestimated by design. Number 1, Nissan Skyline GT-R R34 4-door sedan. Most people don't know this car exists. They know the R34 GT-R, they know the 2-door coupe, the twin-turbo legend, Godzilla in its final form. But what they don't know is that Nissan built a 4-door version, and it might be the most perfectly executed sleeper ever created. This is the Nissan Skyline GT-R sedan. Not a Skyline sedan with GT-R badges. Not a parts swap project. A genuine factory-built 4-door GT-R with the full RB26 drivetrain, a Tessa ETS all-wheel drive, and every piece of technology that made the coupe untouchable. Nissan built these in extremely limited numbers, mostly for the Japanese domestic market, and they never advertised them. They just existed, quiet and devastating. The specs are identical to the coupe. RB26 twin turbocharged 2.6-liter inline-6, 280 horsepower on paper, 330 in reality. A Tessa all-wheel drive with active torque split. Sophisticated electronics managing power delivery in real time. 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. The same numbers as the legendary 2-door, but now with rear doors and a proper back seat. This wasn't a compromise. This was the GT-R for people who needed 4 doors but refused to give up anything. Nissan didn't change the suspension, they didn't soften the ride or dull the steering. The 4-door GT-R drove exactly like the coupe because it was engineered exactly like the coupe. Same multi-link rear suspension, same Brembo brakes, same tire widths. The only difference was the body style, and that difference made it invisible. The 2-door GT-R attracted attention everywhere it went. The sedan blended in. It looked like a slightly sporty Skyline, the kind of car a young professional might drive. Nothing about it screamed performance until you heard the turbo spool. This is what separates the truly great sleepers from the pretenders. Anyone can build a fast car. The hard part is building a fast car that nobody notices. The 4-door R34 GT-R accomplished this perfectly. It had the performance to run with anything on the road, the practicality to be a daily driver, and the anonymity to slip through traffic without raising an eyebrow.